Regerai vakomana, regerai vakomana. Yo, Harare iri kupisa. Pakupisa ndatsva baba. Kuri kupisa kuzimu. Zvakaoma man. I told you guys that this week we'll see a lot. We'll see a lot of things that are happening. Already this week is starting to feel like a war year. Just within a short space of time, we saw Mnangagwa refusing to give a handshake to Chiwenga. We also saw Mnangagwa refusing to engage with Anna. What is this? His facial expression tells it all that everything is not well in the person that says that he was a constitutionalist and he would follow through with the ED 2030. Opinions in ZANU PF are starting to change and are starting to shift towards another side. We go with ZANU PF. Zvakaoma kani, zvakaoma. Hapachaimbosiyana inaye Mnangagwa. And the funny thing here is that Mnangagwa just issued a letter or an arrest warrant for Comrade Geza. Basically, in that arrest letter, he is accusing him of saying treasonous things against the president. Of which, to me, we ask a question like, why did it take so long, though, Baba? You could have just issued that letter like as soon as last week, the first time he actually did that. Why did it take so long? Were you planning? Were you organizing your plan? Were you trying to make sure that everything was done before so that you can have a swift take off? You can plan carefully. You can have Geza checkmated, because in this case that's basically probably the plan, because if Geza can be issued this letter, it makes it difficult for Emmerson Mnangagwa to be removed constitutionally in a case where he is supposed to be signing a letter. So this letter alone by Mnangagwa is basically a way of indicating to Geza that you guys, the battle lines have drawn, then you guys, you can come, let's engage in the battle, let's engage in the battlefield, bring your best and I'll bring my best. So he's basically now challenging them. And what is important is that remember, we've always maintained that their main goal was to go through the constitutional processes. But now should Mnangagwa be removed and outside start crying foul, it's going to bring a negative perception on the government that will take over Mnangagwa, because it will look like it was forced. It will look so bad. I just want to show you something that I thought that it was very funny today. Listen to who's telling Geza to stop talking. Listen to the person that is telling Geza to stop talking. Just increase it. Let me just increase it here. Like I said, kwakaoma kani kuZANU PF, zvakaoma asikuita mahwema akusava jokes. I mean, are you that desperate to a point where you go to a 3-year-old or a grade 1 child and you basically tell them to say something to look like they're aligned towards your idea, to make them say things that they don't even understand? I mean, isn't that child supposed to be in school in the first place? ED has become too desperate, and his minions have become too desperate to a point where they're actually employing such gimmicks and not even afraid to post it online. Now, what is important here to realize is that Mnangagwa does have police control, or to some extent he has the police control, and in matters like this, constitutionally, the police are the only people that can arrest citizens. The army has no authority over the arrest and civilian matters. But this is Zimbabwe. Mnangagwa presided over a Zimbabwe where the army was too involved in civilian matters. So his removal, whether by the army or with the army's assistance in some sort of a way, is going to be blue ticked by other SADC leaders or regional leaders. They're just gonna blue tick it because basically that's how Mnangagwa was running the country. That's how he was making a success out of this country with basically doing this type of things, using the military to achieve his main thing. But what is funny is this greeting. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. I know that you saw it. Kana facial expression amdara askufara. I'm gonna repeat it again here. Facial expression amdara askufara. Askufara zvaitwa nezuro izvo. Zvarevo iros ega. Achamba Chiwenga. He jumped Chiwenga, he went to Mdende, to Chiwenga's wife, and he went to Mdende. And these are the people, when you hear Warakashi speaking your line, they want you guys to believe that these are the people that are actually getting along. So they want you guys to believe that Mnangagwa is some sort of a constituency, or Mnangagwa and Chiwenga are working together, or everything is working for the good. Now, yes, the critical part about this video. I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna make it straight and simple. There is no more friendship within these two warring factions in ZANU PF. Even if tomorrow they were to wake up and say that everything is fine, the coup is not going to happen. So let's say Mnangagwa's faction successfully wins against Chiwenga's faction. Seemingly that they know each other, do you think Chiwenga's faction will just sit on the sidelines and let Mnangagwa rule the country? Obviously not. They are not going to sit on the sidelines and watch Mnangagwa rule the country. They are going to be start employing guerrilla tactics, and this is the point where I feel it's going to be bad for a innocent citizen. Mostly, when I mean innocent citizen, I mean you and I. Or when I mean, sorry, let me just put it. When I mean an innocent citizen, I mean a person like you and I who has nothing to do. Imagine soldiers or some sort of a group of people coming to your house and asking you, are you either Chiwenga or Mnangagwa side? And you say that you are on this side. Then they tell you to go to the meeting, or then you are being accused of doing something of this particular sort. Should that fight actually escalate to that particular point in time? But it will escalate. One faction has to lose, and that faction that loses to be completely eliminated. I, on the other side though, I'm on the side that Mnangagwa's faction must be completely eliminated and be taken out of the country. Should they leave Mnangagwa's faction with all these resources that they do have, basically with the monetary value, Mnangagwa's faction can afford to buy a militia group in that type of a sense. We've seen it happening in a lot of countries. They could possibly afford to buy a militia group that can counter and make the country ungovernable, basically dragging us into civil war. And in a case where civil war and where we enter a typical civil war, normally citizens like you and I will be forced to join sides whether we like it or not, just for the sake of our protection. That's how ugly it can turn out to be. Because why am I saying so? Because what we have noticed is that Mnangagwa, when he sends that letter to through the ZRP, like, show us where Geza is, otherwise you'll be arrested, he's basically openly declaring that there is war. Come, I am ready. I am now ready to arrest Geza. I am not scared of Geza. Bring your best. Now, Geza and the other faction, they do not have the institutional control within them by the legal means of the constitution. They do not control the police, or they are not controlling the courts or something of that particular sort. These are advantageous to Mnangagwa so that he can play victim outside. Let's say Mnangagwa is removed today as the president. It will be constitutional according, like, just forcefully removed. It will be unconstitutional according to the Zimbabwean constitution. Mnangagwa can be like Kabila, and he goes and seek other SADC leaders and possibly ask them to deploy them to just help him reinstate him back into the seat. it's a possibility that can happen, but also very unlikely seeing how SADC responds to stuff. Also very unlikely seeing that Burkina Faso was able, the civilian government in Burkina Faso, Mali, and what other countries? There's Burkina Faso and Mali, and there's a third one that I'm forgetting. Yeah, and Niger. They were toppled. The government was basically thrown away, and ECOWAS in that group tried to threaten the Burkina Faso or these runaway countries, republics, to say that we'll invade you if you do not reinstate a president. Uh, they maintain their stronghold, and up until today, Burkina Faso is being still ruled by the militia. I mean, the junta or the military that actually took over the country. So the possibility of SADC actually interfering on the Mnangagwa side is very unlikely unless he has to promise the leaders that are in this country some huge economic incentives, like basically to basically bless their bank accounts, which possibly Mnangagwa can do that. I mean, based on the amount of resources that are actually on his side. So it can be possible. It could be possible for Mnangagwa to actually do that, but it's unlikely at this point. And a lot of people, again, they find themselves on the wrong side, saying that Chamisa is going to be president, this is going to be president. Why do you think Chiwenga? So Chiwenga is gonna go through all of this hard and difficult work just for Chamisa to be a president? Chiwenga wants to be a president, but what we just don't know is that whether Chiwenga will be a good or a bad president. If Chiwenga takes over and he tries to be like Mnangagwa, unfortunately he's going to face a similar fate, or maybe even a worse fate, because Mnangagwa ruled the country not respecting any constitution, not respecting any institution. Imagine if the police in Zimbabwe was professional, was an institution that was professional. The, the Gezas wouldn't have the energy to come out and say that we are arresting Mnangagwa must go out, because one, the people, they respect their police, they love their police, or they have some sort of, like, what is this, they have some trust in the police that it doesn't get political, it doesn't favor one side. Imagine if the military was professional, it's how he ran it. Imagine if the judges were professional, it's how he was running things. If Mnangagwa had run the country according to the according to things that were provided in the constitution, or according to the law, and not favoring his side, there is, if no one would come up, even if they want to remove him, because they say that Tinu Tedwich, if they want to come out and they say that they want to remove Mnangagwa would have had a constituency, would have been the people of Zimbabwe, who doesn't want to see their country actually being where the leadership changes are only done by a few people, or the so-called deep state in Zimbabwe. A lot of people wouldn't want that type of a particular thing to happen actually in Zimbabwe, because they would be on the side of their president. But because Mnangagwa was running this thing like some rogue and his young engagement face and his young but he was running it like it's his own show, it's his own club, with no considerate of a Zimbabwean, or of trying to keep or to maintain or to have a legacy of a functional institutions in Zimbabwe. Mnangagwa is now facing to be expelled, and none of those institutions can help him because they are too weak to act against these people, and the people are not on the side of their very own institutions. Do you know of any Zimbabwean that trusts the police when it comes to solving issues that are related to politics? No, they do not trust the police. Do you know of any Zimbabwean that trusts the law? What is this? The their their courts when it comes to the arrest. We saw people like Job Scala, they get arrested all over time. Why? Because that institution is weak. The fact that those institutions have been made or they've weakened under Emmerson Mnangagwa is a result. I mean, is also telling that those same institutions could not be able to protect the same rogue president should sometime in the future he really wants the protection of the same institutions. So that's bad for him. And should Chiwenga come in and do the very same things, unfortunately it's gonna end up bad for him. But Chiwenga, once he comes in, he also has to deal with elements within ZANU PF itself. uh Chiwenga, if he's a smart person, he would basically skip the election, the 2027 ZANU PF elections, because the ED elements, they might be still be even higher there. 2027 elections, I'm basically meaning the ZANU 2027 Congress. Whether we have an election in 2028, I think it's already predetermined who's going to win that election. Not to say that Chiwenga is going to win it by popular vote, but I have a strong feeling that ZANU PF wants to keep the current status quo of vote rigging, regardless of who's going to be leading, unless maybe Chiwenga is truly a baptized and changed man and he just want peace and he just want everything to go with it. But that is like, I don't know, that is like daydreaming in real life. Basically, that is what is happening. On the other hand, though, we see that the minister of Mnangagwa, what's this guy's name? We see the minister of Emmerson Mnangagwa is busy saying that he's gonna pay the white people what is due to them, or so that they should come back into Zimbabwe. The white people, not to come back into Zimbabwe, but the land compensation, something that is currently a hot topic in South Africa. But he just said that he's gonna pay them back, and they've been saying that for quite a long time. We're going to pay the whites to come back, or we're going to pay the whites what is due to them ever since Emmerson Mnangagwa came in. But what is they then doing with the money? Nothing. Mthuli Ncube can't go there and speak about paying people back when he doesn't have any foreign reserves to a point where he's even forcing a vendor to have a point of sale machine. Another thing though, it's another thing though is the issue of how are they gonna deal with the economy immediately after they take over, because the damage that has been done by Mnangagwa's government would need a person that is actually strong. And how are they going to deal with the issue of nepotism? Also, particularly, how are they going to deal with elements that actually control the state from an outside thing? Because since we have people like Geza, like these guys, it's clear now that they call the shots. They call the shots within ZANU PF. They call what they need to be happening within ZANU PF. And if they do, what if their interests are now not aligned with the people? And that's mostly a lot of times where it's not aligned with the people. What is going to happen? How are they going to do that? Unless if they fix those fundamental problems that are affecting the Zimbabwean situation, like just basically following the rule of law and the issue of legitimate processes, they can fix the economy through that. Basically, go through the 2028 elections, or maybe have some sort of an agreement where you are going to have, like, a transitional government. A transitional government that is going to be with specific shareholders and no one owns a big share. Basically, I think that can work quite well compared to what if they keep the current status quo of ZANU PF nenge chitonga tinenti chitonga tinenti ripo chinu chedu ichi. It's not going to work well for them. And I wonder, when are we as the masses of Zimbabwe, or the people affected in Zimbabwe, the Zimbabweans, the children of Zimbabwe, when are we going to come out and actually say that, hey, listen, we've had enough, it's time for us to mobilize, it's time for us to actually remove them, it's time to remove the whole thing completely and start having a proper functioning country based on what the people want, not what a certain faction in ZANU PF want. And if they didn't get it, they go haywire, they actually change things, they change presidencies. This, what I'm saying here, should not be taken as if I'm leaning or aligning with Emmerson Mnangagwa, no, but I'm just saying that from here, then where are we going? We need some sort of organized structure of how the country is going to be run. We need to be organized on how we are going to run, and we need to agree on basic principles on how we are going to run this particular country. Although, just to come back again at our main issue here, is being challenged. Bring it on. What do you have? Show me what can you guys do. That's the message Emmerson Mnangagwa is saying. And particularly last night when he fired Chiwenga's sister or relative or a person that is related to Chiwenga from Manicaland, or as the state minister of devolution of Manicaland. what is Mnangagwa trying to is also saying that bring it on, people. I want to see what you guys are capable of. Because in this time he enjoys the constitution. It's not the first time that not enjoys the constitution, but he enjoys the authority that is aligned with him by the institutions. But it's not the first time Mnangagwa says things like Mnangagwa has shown fear over this type of thing. Mnangagwa has been quoted of saying things like, hey man, they know who their godfather is. If you try to plan anything against me, they're gonna show you something. Also, I want you guys to watch this video that I'm just gonna post 2 seconds here. Like, you.
Former army chief.
Many people would want me and
If you remember this video,
in good books. Unfortunately, they will dream and dream. And it's not, no one can bring the juror against.
But it's the same brother you couldn't shake the hand with. ED 2030, people, it's for criminals to keep looting. It's for people to keep benefiting. It's for people to keep their current status quo within Zimbabwe. But as of now, the things are getting hotter and hotter in Zimbabwe. And irregardless of what is going to happen, ZANU PF is not going to be the same. And let's say that ZANU PF is weakened. We now need a grassroots opposition that is going to stand and just take over from the people that have fallen, or from the fallen ZANU PF as of now. Otherwise, we can't allow such people to actually regroup. We can't allow ZANU PF to actually look for to gain the strength again. After them fighting these factional battles, we need to now come in and take over. I just hope that Priscilla Chiguma becomes one of the first people to actually get arrested as soon as these things are done. Just hand over Priscilla Chiguma to the people and we will deal with them. We will deal with them we will teach her some of the few lessons on how to officiate elections. Basically telling other people exactly how not to proceed with a flawed election. We need people like Owen Mudangube, who has been said to be having a grade 7 by CDE Geza. It's funny that ED just last year he was trying to meddle in a lot of elections, from Namibia to Botswana to now Mozambique. And now that I don't think he's gonna escape in Mozambique. The situation is tense there. I'm not sure about South Africa, but definitely he's not going to Mozambique. The situation is tense there. The border jumper is not going there again. Anyways, that is all of it tonight. But what I can tell you is that the situation in Zimbabwe is not gonna get any better for ZANU PF or for any faction, whether you're winning or losing. If you win, you are going to have to keep on maintaining that you are on the throne. Because now if you win, there are two factions that are against you, the losing faction plus the G40 faction. Unless this faction that wins would actually invite back the G40 faction, maybe then they can have some sort of a majority. But also another thing is that since free Zimbabwe, free Geza, freedom fight. Yeah, well, Daniel Lua. Yeah, well, we want the freedom. I won't lie to you, we want the freedom, but can we really guarantee that we are going to get a different government after this case after Mnangagwa is gone? Because let's say it's gone by tomorrow, are we going to get people that are not going to use the military in the streets to shoot people like what you saw in 2017, in 2018 in Harare, for example, in the city center? Are we going to get a different government from that? Are we going to, because those things happened while the current ZANU PF cabal was there, if you get what I'm saying. Remember, ED came in and he was telling us that he was gonna resign, he was gonna lead up until 2028. It's 2 terms, you leave once you have enough in office, stuff like that. He told us a lot of mwambo, but where are we now? We are trying to remove a rogue president or a person that is trying to move on up until 2020, up until 2030, who has placed his sons all over Zimbabwe. They are running the show. So I think the freedom that you are talking about will only come about when the people of Zimbabwe are being served by political parties, not the people of Zimbabwe serving a political party. Basically what I'm saying is that political parties in Zimbabwe, like ZANU PF, where it starts marketing itself like this is what we can do for you, we can build the economy in this way, where they value the people. In this case, I don't think it's much more about the value of the people, but rather it's about, no, I'm not eating on this table. I don't feel like I'm getting a big piece enough. Why don't you? Since I'm not getting a big piece enough, I was the older one, I was the first one. So you guys get out. But maybe Daniel, it could be possible that Geza is Geza in his old age now, he has realized that, hey man, since I'm getting old, not I'm get like he has realized with wisdom that we have done nothing for the country. Let's go and rewrite our wrongs. Therefore, let's never allow the ED 2030 in the first place. But another thing that is also interesting about this whole Geza situation is another thing that is also interesting about this whole situation is that all the factions in ZANU PF that are warring right now, they claim that the people want this thing. They claim that the people want this thing. It puts a common denominator, which is us Zimbabweans. And if it is us Zimbabweans, it means that we have power, but we just don't realize it as a people, or we don't realize how strong we are as a people to actually get rid of these rogue elements within our country. That's one thing that I think we we need some sort of a mobilization force to actually get us there. But however, I wonder if ZRP can actually arrest Geza, or can manage to arrest Geza, because I think the directive from Mnangagwa is to like, yo, you guys, if you see Cage, I don't care whether he comes on an oxygen tank or he comes in a coffin, just make sure that you eliminate. That's possibly his directive. However, what is interesting here is that also strategically Emmerson Mnangagwa seems to be only singling out Geza. Whenever Geza gives a press conference, he has about 5 people that are there. If you notice, he has 5 people that are there, and these people actually speak out. And people from ZAPU, so they speak out against the ED 2030. But Mnangagwa, he mainly goes against only Geza. In a way, I think Mnangagwa is synthesizing, or is busy building a plan where he can perhaps bribe the other ones so that they can also point, or he has attempted already to bribe the other one so that they can all isolate Geza, to say that no, it was Geza's fault, Geza is the person that was actually forcing us. But again, Geza probably has Chiwenga and a lot of people that are behind him, that are pushing this whole narrative, and he has been a good mouthpiece for that. And we're going to be this week chaona zvakawanda already in a short space of 3 days. You guys, have seen 2 factions singing against each other in the same place. You have seen Geza's live release. You have just seen the police release. Remember, Mnangagwa was fired and he came back to Zimbabwe as president within a short space of 2 weeks in 2017 November. It's happening now. History is repeating itself. But I think in this case, history is going to repeat itself in a way that it's harsh for Mnangagwa than how it was for Mugabe. I don't think it's going to repeat itself in a way that is going to be viewed in the light of dignity. And I wonder, what will our CC MPs that thought that they're going to be MPs for life, what are they going to do? Because once Mnangagwa is removed, I don't think the motion is going to be tabled for the ED 2030. In fact, I don't think Parliament is going to be allowed to sit this year. As long as the military has it, I don't think Parliament is going to be allowed to sit this year, or to hold any briefing or any meeting this year. If Chiwenga is clever on that, he better make sure that no parliament sitting actually happens this year. What is this year? As long as Mnangagwa is still the president of Zimbabwe, you had already allowed Mnangagwa to open the cabinet. That is one mistake. But he shouldn't allow him to open the parliament, because once there is a table, or the motion of ED 2030 is now being tabled, it makes it even constitutional